Jason, you're holding up the meeting.
Yo.
Ready, acting mayor.
We ready?
Wait. He's on.
Hello.
Hello, God. We'll never see him, just hear him. Oh, the mayor's on too.
Ready? Good evening. As acting president, I'll be running the meeting, but will also, that's what my script says, Ralph. Will also main my representation for Ward 1 and will be voting on tonight's matters. The mayor is on via Zoom. Good evening, Mayor. He's never sounded better.
Hi.
Madam Clerk, will you take a roll call? Oh, are we doing the Pledge of Allegiance first? Okay, we're going to do the Pledge of Allegiance, and then Ted Martin's going to lead us in prayer.
Good evening, Board. Our most gracious Heavenly Father, we thank you for another beautiful day in the Ozarks, and we invite you into these chambers tonight as we go through an agenda that is prepared for our citizens, for our board, and for hopefully the work that will honor and glorify you. Father, it is a week of thanks, thankful for our board and our city employees and all that the work that they do for a great community where people are able to work, live, and play. Again, all in honor of you. Father, we love you and praise you in Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. All right, this is the public comment section of the Board of Aldermen meetings.
Your Honor, we'll start with a roll call again.
Let's do a roll call first.
Thank you.
This is harder than it looks.
Fenton.
Here.
Denham. Here. Cooper.
Here.
Milton.
Here.
Rodriguez. Howden.
Here.
LeBlanc.
Here.
Your Honor, you have a quorum.
Fantastic. This is the public comment section of the Board of Aldermen meetings. At this time, the board will hear the citizens who have signed up in the order they are listed, and please remember that the mayor and the board has asked that public comment be kept to city-related items. Please speak on items. We want to hear from you. Let's speak on items that this board can do something about or has any control of. So with that in mind, Madam Clerk, do we have any speakers?
Our speaker tonight is State Representative Brian Seitz, speaking on a legislative agenda, address 1805 Miller Drive, Branson, Missouri.
Good evening, Representative Seitz.
Good evening. It's good to be here today. First off, I'd like to thank the voters of the district for the recent election. We had a great turnout, and I appreciate their support. My legislative agenda for this year in dealing with the city in particular contains 3 specific bills, and then I'll open it up at the end for questions. One of the bills that I'll be forwarding in December is changing the Department of Transportation formula for cities to receive infrastructure funding. As we know, we are basically noted as a small town of 10,000 or so citizens, so we receive infrastructure funding based on that number. What I'm going to ask for is that we count hotel and motel occupancy in high tourist destinations such as Branson as population when figuring out the disbursements rather than the simple population number of residents. I think as we know on any given day, we have 50,000 people in town and our infrastructure has greater needs than maybe other small towns. So I'll be working closely with you and hopefully the Chamber of Commerce to get that done in the next session. Secondly, as we talked about last year, the Missouri Entertainment Industry Investment Act is a bill that I filed previously. I think it would be very beneficial for the Branson area so that we might have movies, television shows, and things like that filmed here in Branson and in the state of Missouri. Those companies, those production companies, need some incentives to come to the state. I think Georgia's doing very well, Oklahoma's doing very well, Louisiana, Texas, and some others. So I'm going to need the support from the board, the mayor, and anyone, business owners in the city to move that Missouri Entertainment Industry Investment Act forward. I'm also going to be once again promoting the bill recognizing PTSD as an occupational disease in first responders. I think it's very important that mental health is covered when dealing with police, firemen, and all other first responders. I'm the only representative to get that through the House. It passed overwhelmingly 2 years in a row, made it to the Senate, and there it was killed in committee. So I'm lining some senators up. Even this weekend, I was in Florida with a group of representatives and senators from Missouri and lining them up for support next session to see that PTSD is recognized as an occupational disease in first responders. I'd like to, because I haven't been here of late, I'd like to congratulate Kathy Stepp, the new city administrator. I think she's a great find for the city. I think you'll continue to work well as a unit, and I'm very pleased to have gotten to know her in a short period of time, and I think she'll do a great job for the city of Branson. I do appreciate the spirit of commonality that we've had for the past 2 years. I would encourage you to be wary of those voices of discontent. Now, discontent is good if it's something that is beneficial and brings us together as a community. But be wary of those voices that divide. I think you guys have done a wonderful job over the past 2 years, and I'd like to see that spirit of commonality continue. I'm open for any questions and or comments.
Brian, I know that Mayor Milton has talked to the governor quite frequently about the whole issue of infrastructure funds and where they're going
Yes.
to. You know, I wonder if there's strategy, and maybe this is talking shop, maybe we can talk behind the scenes, but you know, it seems to me I could see why maybe some representatives from the Kansas City and St. Louis area might not go for something like that. But
Right.
gosh, just about every one of these districts has, whether it's a Herman or a Hannibal, you know, where they've got hotel nights that it seems like it seems like you could get some good support for that. Whereas
Sure.
we have a lot of hotel rooms, so it would benefit us more, but it still would benefit these other places as well if you're doing it by hotel apportionments.
Right, I agree, and I think that's why I'm tailoring it to high tourist destinations like Hannibal and even St. Louis and Kansas City, because they have infrastructure needs as well, and that way I can bring more representatives on board in hopes of passage of the bill.
Anybody else?
Yeah. Mayor,
Go ahead, Mayor.
Mayor too. I just wanted to really thank Representative Seitz on that infrastructure funding. I thought it was very creative on his part to see about including the lodging counts in the calculations from the Department of Transportation. Boy, I really want to support him on that. That's a big deal. Maybe we'll go to Jeff City and fight with him. But I'll tell you what, Representative Seitz, I know he just successfully got reelected, and he really does fight for us a lot. So I just wanted to tell him thank you and thank his creativity.
I appreciate that, Mayor Melton.
Also wanted to remind the board that December 1st is when they start discussing bills up in Jeff City. So we need to get, board, just think about other topics that we want Representative Seitz working for us on. That's all I have. Thank you.
I'm glad you brought that up because is that the deadline, December 1st?
December 1st is the first day that we can actually file
To get it in.
legislation to be heard beginning on January 4th. I can file bills from January 4th on, but it's easier if those bills are pre-filed to get them into committee and then eventually heard on the floor. So if I can do as much as possible by December 1st, that would be great.
Yeah. Early bird gets the worm, right?
That's it.
The longer you wait, the
The early
less you-
bird gets worms, yeah. Okay. All right.
Well, I love all three of the, I mean, the Missouri Entertainment Act, that's something that's been discussed here off and on for a while. I mean,
Right.
millions of dollars that this area is missing out on. I mean, Atlanta is just, they've taken that industry by storm.
Right.
And what a great place, I mean, with the mountains and the lakes and I mean, we have such a wide variety of areas for them to shoot things like that. I mean, I'm so glad you're jumping on with that and the PTSD as well. And
Thank you.
I want to just say what the mayor said, that you do a great job, and I'm proud to have you as our representative.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yes.
Brian, in
I
reference to,
just want to say thank you, Representative Seitz. You have served us so well. Thank you. We all know that you're going through some challenging times, yet you still choose to represent us. Your passion for this district is amazing. Anything that we've seen in the past, you just have topped it. So thank you so much, and you have my full support.
I
Thank you.
appreciate that. Thank you very much.
the entertainment bill, like, did you rename it to make it more attractive to the other areas, or?
The official name is the Missouri Entertainment Industry Investment Act. I took out the word tax credit, and there's a reason for that, because there are those in my own party that don't care for tax credits. I'm re-educating them and letting them know that this is an investment in Missouri.
Right. And just to reiterate what Clay said, like, I'm from South Louisiana, and Louisiana does it. And my hometown was utilized in Where the Crawfish Sing, that movie. And
Sure.
my hometown, downtown area was utilized for that. And the economy there was, I mean, it seen that boom while they were doing the shoots,
Right.
and then post while they were doing the shoots. It really made a huge impact to the economy during that time. So I kind of seen that firsthand. And I would love, I know there's businesses in this community that are willing to invest in the ground. I mean, they already own the ground. They want to build buildings, build sets, build, you know, what needs to be done in order to attract that business. And it not only brings more business, it's a completely different industry that has sustainability with, you know, everything being streamed now. You know, sets are locked down. I mean, you can't book a set.
Right.
And so you either have to build your own or find a building that can do that. And, you know, I know there are even influencers that have bought buildings and created their own sets because there's just not sets available. And so that would definitely bring a huge boom to the Southwest Missouri for
And
sure.
look at the trained technicians that we have here that
Absolutely.
nowhere else in the country, except for maybe California, has. We have the lights and the sound operators and things like that. They're ready on day one to get started.
And speaking of that, even the commission of the soundboard over at the Mansion Theater, which
Yes.
is a huge thing because it's one in the world.
Yes.
And we have it right here in Branson, Missouri. And what a great leap pad that would be for our community. And you're right, we do have the personnel that can operate those boards, the lights, the backdrops, the behind the stage things. I mean, that would be just amazing.
Right, and just to mention, there was a show starring Sylvester Stallone that was going to be called Kansas City Kings. That show, because Oklahoma has this investment act already in place, is now called Tulsa Kings. I'd rather see it Kansas City Kings, but, you know, we missed out on that one. That was $21 million in the first season that Missouri could have gained in tax collection. So this is very important, and I appreciate everyone getting behind it with me.
So Brian, what would it take? Like, what are you asking of us? Like, I mean, is it us rallying up and going to Jeff City? I mean, what
Yeah, that's basically it. Last year, this was put in the Tourism Committee. It passed bipartisanly with overwhelming 0 no votes, but we couldn't get it onto the floor because there were other tax issues being discussed. And I think coming up to Jefferson City to advocate for the bill while it's in committee is very impressive to the committee chairman and the committee members. So, Branson showing up in mass, they're going to move this forward. So it's going to take a village, if you want to call it.
Bring his guitar and sing us a song, too.
Give me a date. I'll get you with my agent and we'll book it.
All right, we'll do it. All right.
Anybody else?
Thank you. Thank you, Brian.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Representative Seitz. Madam Clerk, anyone else?
Nope, that's it. Thank you.
Wow. Okay.
Hear that, Larry? That
Wow.
was it.
Okay. All right. Next is the consent agenda.
Maybe I'll miss more meetings.
Next is the consent agenda. Are there any items that any member of the audience would like to have moved down from the consent agenda to ask additional questions or comments? Seeing none, any items the board would like to move down?
Would like item number 14 to be removed from the consent agenda and placed as the first item on the regular agenda.
Madam Clerk, would you please read the items on the consent agenda?
Your Honor, the items on the consent agenda are as follows. Approve of the Board of Aldermen minutes for the November 8th, 2022 regular meeting. Acknowledge receipt of Planning Commission minutes for the October 4th, 2022 regular meeting. Acknowledge receipt of Human Resources Committee minutes for the October 19th, 2022 meeting. Acknowledgement of disbursements for October 30th, 2022 through November 10th, 2022. Final reading of Bill Number 6213, an ordinance amending Appendix A of the Branson Municipal Code pertaining to utilities fee schedule. Final reading of Bill Number 6214, an ordinance adopting a budget, a capital program, and a reserve policy for the City of Branson, Missouri for the fiscal year January 1st, 2023 through December 31st, 2023. Final reading of Bill Number 6215, an ordinance approving the renewal of the contract with Empire Energy LLC for fuel and authorizing the mayor to execute the contract. Final reading of Bill Number 6216, an ordinance approving a final change order with Blevins Asphalt Construction Company for the 2021 Mill and Overlay Project. Final reading of Bill Number 6217, an ordinance approving the first renewal of the contract with Snell Grove Outdoor Services LLC for mowing and weed eating services and authorizing mayor to execute the contract. Final reading of Bill Number 6218, an ordinance approving the contract with Viking Sives Midwest Incorporated for the purchase of a 2022 International CV 515 and authorize the mayor to execute the contract. Final reading of Bill Number 6219, an ordinance amending the adopted 2022 budget for the City of Branson, Missouri to adjust monies in a tourist fund for a payment of the Branson, Missouri Regional Airport Transportation Development District. Final reading of Bill Number 6220, an ordinance appointing members to fill certain vacancies on the City of Branson, Missouri Tax Increment Financing Commission. Final reading of Bill Number 6221, an ordinance approving the contract with Taney County Health Department for public health services and authorizing the mayor to execute the contract. Your Honor, that concludes the reading of the consent agenda. The floor is open for a motion approving all items on the consent agenda.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Please vote on the consent agenda.
That motion carried 5-0. Your Honor, the next item is the final reading of Bill Number 6222, an ordinance amending Section 2-62 of the Branson Municipal Code pertaining to regular meetings and the agenda. The floor is open for a motion to approve the final reading of Bill Number 6222. We have a motion and a second.
Yep. We have a motion and a second, and we're going to have a staff report from Jim Meadows. Is Jim on with us?
I am.
Good evening,
Can
Jim.
you hear me?
Yes, sir, we can.
Wonderful. This is the bill from the last meeting where we were discussing amending ordinance 262 to make it clear that that two members of the board or the mayor and a member of the board could have items put onto the agenda for discussion, and also that items of discussion could be added to the agenda. We were at the same time talking about changes to ordinance 2-72. During the meeting, it became obvious that there were concerns that we really didn't need that second ordinance anymore. And we took it back as a rewrite from you all. We would ask that you vote this first ordinance down. The next item on your agenda is going to be the rewrite you requested that combines the two ordinances in one, simplifies the code, and makes it hopefully very clear what is intended to occur.
All right. Anyone in the audience wishing to speak regarding this matter? Nobody? Any aldermen? So you're asking us to be this should be a vote this down, a no vote,
Correct.
right? All right. Are we ready to vote? Let's vote.
Your Honor, that failed 0-5. The next item is the first reading of Bill Number 6224, an ordinance amending Section 2-62 of the Branson Municipal Code pertaining to regular meetings and agenda and deleting Section 2-79 of the Branson Municipal Code pertaining to proposed ordinances, resolutions, and other matters or subjects in its entirety. The floor is open for a motion to approve the first reading of Bill Number 6224.
All right. We have a motion and a second, and we'll now have another staff report from Jim Meadows.
Thank you. This is the revised ordinance. It would amend both 262 and eliminate 279, replacing them with one ordinance that sets forth the procedure of how items can be added to the board's agenda and what types of items can be added to the board's agenda. It makes it clear that items of discussion can be added to the board's agenda, that two members of the board can request to have an item added to the agenda, or the mayor and one member of the board, and that the city attorney, city clerk, city administrator, and department heads can have matters added to the agenda. All are changes that this board requested at the last meeting. Additionally, it makes it clear that the agenda items should, as far as practical, be delivered to the city administrator 6 days prior to the meeting. This combines the changes that were discussed to both ordinances at the last meeting, makes it in one ordinance that is more simplified, and then eliminates all of 279 altogether, so we don't have redundancy and possible confusion.
And I see that, I remember last time we talked about, did you bring up the in writing? So that is in the text, right? Which I think that's a great idea, just to have a track record.
Yeah, line 37.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes, it's in line 37.
Yep. Oh, yeah. I see.
Third word in writing.
Yeah. Okay. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak on this? Any aldermen have a comment? Ralph, Marshall?
Just happy with the changes. It still leaves discretion for a city administrator to add things if she felt necessary. I mean, which could conceivably also include a mayor suggesting something, without, because that's the only thing that I'm sitting here going, okay, now a mayor and one alderman. It's like he can't say something where in the past a mayor could put something on the agenda. I think that sort of still could happen in a sense, just suggesting it to the city administrator. But if there was any conflict where the mayor wanted something on the agenda and the city administrator didn't want to, the mayor would have to have that one additional person in order to force it onto the agenda. So I'm pretty comfortable with all the language. I think it cleans it up. And I think also by deleting 79, we're not worrying about sponsoring bills, which Lisa was talking about in the past. It's clear. Takes two aldermen. Yep.
I agree. Cody, Ruth? Y'all good? Mayor, you have anything to say?
Nope, I'm good.
All right. Let's vote.
That motion carried 5-0. Your Honor, the next item is the first reading of Bill Number 6225, an ordinance approving the memorandum of understanding with the United States Marshals Service for a part-time task force officer and authorizing the mayor to execute the contract. The floor is open for a motion to approve the first reading of Bill Number 6225.
All right, we have a motion and a second, and we'll now have a staff report from Eric Schmidt. Good evening, Eric.
Good evening. Your Honor, members of the board, I appreciate your time. This is a memorandum of understanding for something we've been working on for a little bit now. We were very excited that the United States Marshal Service actually approached us last year and requested one of our specific officers for the department due to the outstanding work he's been doing for us in our investigations bureau there. And so what the United States Fugitives Task Force is they're the ones that are tasked with going after kind of the worst of the worst in the country, and we have them regionalized throughout the country. So the closest one we have to our region is the Springfield area, and they're backed up by the Kansas City area. They don't have any current task force members down in this region, and because of the continuing crimes, drugs, things that we've had in this area, overlapping into the Arkansas area and so forth, it's kind of important for them to have a contact down here that knows the players and has that information available to help them. Likewise, it's just as important for us to have that reach into the federal system to provide us jurisdiction outside of our city boundaries when we're chasing these guys, doing investigations and so forth into across borders, even into other states. We have had several incidents over the last couple of years where we have teamed with the task force, and again, that's one of the reasons they've reached out to us and asked us to be a member of it. It is mutually beneficial. One of the biggest advantages for us is when we are working on any of those cases that involve a marshal's case, they will pay the overtime for our officers involved in it. So there's a financial benefit to us as well, where normally we would be assigning our people on overtime. We'd be able to recoup that cost. So it's a win-win for us. We like the part-time assignment because it gives ultimate authority to the command staff which operations we want to participate in and which ones we don't. That's a big thing for us because anybody's heard me talk about our procedural justice philosophies. Our policies have to mirror the desires of the community, and so we withhold the final right to make a decision what federal operations we want to be involved with so that it's aligned with our community. So staff does recommend going forward with this.
Very good. Anyone in the audience want to speak on this? Madam Clerk, so for those listening online, Richie from the audience said that he signed up on the computer but was not called up.
Perhaps we should finish this vote,
Yeah.
because we're in the middle of this item.
Yeah.
And then we could discuss.
Yeah, let's do that.
Thank you.
Okay, anybody in the audience want to speak on this matter, agenda number 16? Any aldermen? Have anything to say for Assistant Chief here? I love, this is fantastic. Is this something that y'all been working on a while?
Yes, it's been in the process for about 1.5 years.
Yeah, I thought
We're very proud of this particular officer that they've requested.
How many hours do you foresee? I mean, what, do we know?
It's dependent on the type of cases we get because it has to qualify for that case. But what it'll allow us to do is it gets us into the federal system faster. So on a previous case that you all are familiar with, when we went out of state to apprehend 2 fugitives, we had to request through the Fugitive Task Force. This would allow, our officer would have had direct access straight into the computer system for that to get those people entered faster and get us working on it faster.
That's great. Any Alderman? Ruth?
Just a huge thank you to you and our Branson Police Department for the amazing job you do to make sure that we have great protection in this city. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We good? Kathy, anything? All right. Let's vote.
That motion carried 5-0.
Thank you, Eric. Mayor, are you there?
Yes. Yep.
I don't know if you overheard, Richie is in the crowd tonight and said that he had signed up for public comment in the computer, and Lisa said that she did not have record of that in the computer.
First of all, I want to wish you a happy Thanksgiving, Larry, and all the members of the board. And I'm so glad you brought us out of the COVID mess and lockdown. You guys are doing a great job. You know, I counseled you to do that, Larry. Remember that forever, okay? Love you and your family. Love what you're doing. We did have some response from the health department, which was really positive, and all the questions were answered that we were looking forward to. So we've been able to make peace there. And the other thing is, I always advertise nomorejab.wordpress.com. And it would be nice if we could include some alternative information, maybe in a website here or something to that extent. But we were supposed to have a special session, and I'm looking forward to that very much. So God bless all of you. Hope you don't eat too much turkey and all the other good stuff. And God bless you, Larry. I love y'all, okay?
Thanks, Richie. Madam Clerk, you want to move on? Item 17, is that where we are?
Yeah. This item is the first reading of Bill Number 6226, an ordinance approving a funding agreement with Holtz Builders Incorporated for J1 International Student Housing Due Diligence and authorize the mayor to execute the contract. The floor is open for a motion to approve the first reading of Bill Number 6226.
All right, we have a motion and a second, and we'll now have a staff report from Ben Hart. Hello, Ben.
Thank you. Back in July, the board reviewed a J1 proposal for some temporary housing. What this contract or this resolution ordinance does is approve a funding agreement with the developers, so that way they're funding any fees associated with reviewing that process, and the city is not at stake at any of the costs that comes forward. This has been agreed to by the developer, so it's finished and ready for approval.
Anyone in the audience wanting to speak on this matter? Any aldermen? Any mayors?
No, appreciate you, Ben.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Ben. All right, let's take a vote.
That motion carried 5-0. Your Honor, the next item is the first reading of Bill Number 6227, an ordinance approving the engagement letter agreement with Baker Tilly U.S. LLP for interim financial management, grant services, and general municipal advisory services, and authorizing the mayor to execute the documents related thereto. The floor is open for a motion to approve the first reading of Bill Number 6227.
We have a motion and a second, and now a staff report from Lisa.
Thank you. Mayor and Board, this is agreement to continue the services of Baker Tilly through 2023 into 2023. The original engagement started May 2022 for municipal advisory services, and the agreement went through December 31st, 2022. Though this continues into 2023.
For how long is the extension on this? I mean, the whole, what is the end date in 23?
It would be upon notice.
Yeah, we've calculated it to the end of the year, but it could be terminated at any time.
So this is just a renewal for 2023?
Exactly.
Right, okay.
And it's on a monthly basis.
It's on a month pay.
Okay. All right. Anyone in the audience wishing to speak on this matter? Any aldermen? Hearing none, let's vote.
That motion carried 5-0. The next item is the first reading of Bill Number 6228, an ordinance amending the adopted 2022 budget for the City of Branson, Missouri to adjust monies for additional expenses in the Water Sewer Capital Fund to fund the purchase of a chlorine leak scrubber system. The floor is open for a motion to approve the first reading of Bill Number 6228. Ooh, hold on.
We have a motion and a second, and we'll now have a staff report from Kendall Powell.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the board. If it's okay, this staff report will cover for this item as well for the next item on the agenda. The Utilities Department is requesting a budget adjustment for the purchase of a chlorine leak scrubber system for the Meadows Water Treatment Plant. A request for bid was received from JCI Industries in the amount of $424,557. The chlorine leak scrubber system was approved as a capital item for 2022 in the amount of $250,000. A budget adjustment is being requested for the difference of $173,507. We are proposing adjusting funds from our water sewer capital fund, 145 account reserves. We recommend approval of this budget adjustment for 2022.
Wow. What is this?
So what this is when the water treatment plant was originally designed, it was designed to have a leak scrubber, a chlorine leak scrubber. So as you know, we disinfect with chlorine gas. And so this is a room that's next to the chlorine room, and in the event of a leak, it actually would exhaust the leak into the scrubber, which then cleans it before it goes out into the atmosphere. So it actually is a safety mechanism that protects not only the employees and staffs at the treatment plant, but also the area residents as well. It's something that's we've been looking forward to for quite some time. It's one of those items that's been kind of pushed down the road for several years. And the $250,000 number was put in back in 2020. And as you know, with the pandemic, everything's went skyrocketed in cost, and this one hit pretty hard.
So is most of that just the increase in cost, that difference?
Yes, yeah. And this actual room is, a specific size. The equipment that's out there today, it'll have to be customized and modified to fit this particular room. So there's a little bit added cost because of that.
Well, that'll teach us to kick the can down the road, won't it? Good night. All right, anyone in the audience wishing to speak on this matter? Any aldermen? Hearing none, we'll vote.
Alderman Denham,
She's green lighted over there.
could you give me your vote? I'm sorry.
Yes.
Thank you. That motion carried 5-0.
Thank you.
The next item is the first reading of Bill Number 6229, an ordinance approving a contract with JCI Industries LLC for the purchase of a chlorine leak scrubber and authorizing the mayor to execute the contract. The floor is open for a motion to approve the first reading of Bill Number 6229.
We have a motion and a second, and now staff report from Kendall.
I have nothing further to add, but I'm happy to hear to answer any questions.
Anyone in the audience? Any aldermen?
Clay?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I just want to reiterate the last thing you said. I mean, it shows us not to kick the can down the road.
Well, I mean, how much money did that cost us by going, well, maybe later, maybe later? When
Yeah.
you're saying it's something that we've needed all along,
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
that was how much was that? How much was that? 170-something thousand difference?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. Ben, I appreciate your approach, man. And Kathy, good job. Everybody, good job on that.
Yeah. All right, we ready to vote? Let's vote.
That motion carried 5-0.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kendall.
Your Honor, the next item is the first reading of Bill Number 6230, an ordinance approving a contract with CDW Government for the purchase of computer hardware and software and authorizing the mayor to execute the contract. The floor is open for a motion to approve the first reading of Bill Number 6230.
We have a motion and a second, and we'll now have a staff report from Chad.
Mayor, members of the board, this contract is with CDW Government and allows the city to purchase a variety of technology items such as hardware, software, and it allows us to procure network infrastructure maintenance-related items. The IT department centralizes the purchase of technology items to ensure each purchase is properly vetted, inventoried, and to make sure that we're using our funds as efficiently as possible. This contract is for fiscal year 2023. It does utilize a cooperative purchasing agreement with the National IPA agreement, which CDWG is authorized to use. The total not to exceed amount is $120,000. However, I'd point out that there's no minimum purchase amount required. In other words, we're not obligated to spend $120,000. It's up to that not to exceed amount. Funds are in the proposed 2023 budget, and staff recommends approval. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Anyone from the audience want to speak? So, yeah, the approval's for up to, I mean, if it costs 80, we're good, but if it were to come in more than that, we'd need to come back and discuss that, right?
Most years, we don't have to do that. Last year before, we did modify it. But yeah, occasionally we do need to do that, but typically not.
Right.
But you're correct.
Okay. Any aldermen? Cody, you've been awful quiet tonight.
Think about turkey.
You ready for some turkey? All right. Well, let's vote on this.
That motion carried 5-0. The next item is the first reading of Bill Number 6231, an ordinance amending the adopted 2022 budget for the City of Branson, Missouri to adjust monies in the Fire Department Internal Service Fund, increasing the Fire Department Capital Projects Fund to account for the award of an Assistance to Firefighters grant. The floor is open for a motion to approve the first reading of Bill Number 6231.
We have a motion and a second, and now a staff report from Chief Ted Martin.
Good evening, Mayor and members of the board. In August, the fire department was awarded a 2021 Assistance to Firefighters grant in the amount of $195,642, with only a 5% match required, just under $10,000. This budget amendment is necessary to account for the expense for the capital projects. The projects specifically are some physical fitness equipment in all three stations, and also what's called a source capture system that captures exhaust from the fleet and expels them from the station houses. And so that will increase the safety and health wellness for our staff. Be happy to answer any questions.
Anyone from the audience want to speak on this? Any aldermen have anything to add? Ralph? Nobody? All right. That was easy, wasn't it? Let's take a vote.
That motion carried 5-0. The next item is the first reading of Bill Number 6232, an ordinance amending the adopted 2022 budget for the City of Branson, Missouri to adjust monies in the Fire Department Internal Service Fund for an increase in the Fire Department capital projects and account for a battalion chief vehicle. The floor is open for a motion to approve the first reading of Bill Number 6232.
We have a motion and a second, and now another staff report from Chief Martin.
Mayor, members of the board, due to rising costs of the vehicles and the upfit for the equipment associated with that vehicle, the amount requested for the battalion chief vehicle is not sufficient to complete this project. The battalion chief vehicle is a frontline response unit that is used by our shift commanders for response for emergency and non-emergency calls. This vehicle also serves as a command post for a large majority of the routine calls and equipment, and is equipped as such. During major calls, the vehicle may serve as a multitude of positions and functions. We had currently budgeted $58,000. The estimates right now through the enterprise system plus the upfit for the command box and the associated equipment puts us at $78,000 for that. So we're looking okay in our budget. Ben said it's okay. Thumbs up. And so we just asked for that amendment to be present tonight. Be happy to answer any questions.
Anyone from the audience? Now, Chief, this is something you're buying from Enterprises? It's a retired loaner? Is that what you're?
No, it'd be a brand new vehicle.
Oh, brand new.
We have Ben is the expert on it, but we buy most of our vehicles for the city through that fleet process through Enterprise. In fact, we'll be coming to you soon on 2 more behind this one.
Now, are you SUV or most of the vehicles now are what? Explorers or?
This would be an F-150 pickup.
Oh, okay.
They'll have a complete command box in the back, radios, everything put inside.
Awesome.
And it supports our daily operations.
Any aldermen have anything to add? No? All right, let's take a vote.
That motion carried 5-0.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ted.
The next item is first reading Bill Number 6233, an ordinance accepting the proposal of Table Rock Asphalt Construction Company Incorporated for base rock and asphalt mix and authorizing the mayor to execute the contract. The floor is open for a motion to approve the first reading of Bill Number 6233.
We have a motion and a second, and we'll now have a staff report from Keith Francis. Good evening.
Good evening, Your Honor, members of the board. This is for just a contract for our base rock and our asphalt mix for 2023. The bid estimated tonnage and price per ton picked up and price delivered. Staff recommends the bid with Table Rock Asphalt Construction Company for the purchase of rock and asphalt in the total amount not to exceed $196,000. For the projects for public works, streets, utilities, parks, and recreational departments. Be glad to answer any questions.
Anyone in the audience want to speak on this item? Any aldermen? Man, you are quiet tonight. All right, please vote.
We behave when Larry's not here.
I see that, yeah.
That motion carried 5-0. The next item is first read Bill Number 6234, an ordinance accepting the proposal of Table Rock Asphalt Construction Company Incorporated for concrete supplies and authorizing the mayor to execute the contract. The floor is open for a motion to approve the first reading Bill Number 6234.
We have a motion and a second, and we'll now have a staff report again from Keith Francis.
Your Honor, members of the board, this is for our concrete, for miscellaneous projects throughout the city for the year 2023. We received two bids, Tri-Lake Ready Mix and also from Table Rock Asphalt. Table Rock Asphalt was the apparent low bidder after we figured in the delivery charges and the minimum delivery of 5 cubic yards. So you get an extra $90 charge on top of that if you don't order at least a minimum of 5 yards of concrete. Staff recommends approval and we're glad to answer any questions. And this is an amount not to exceed $135,000.
Anyone in the audience want to speak on this? So Keith, this is what you estimate that you guys will need for the year? Is this kind of a starting base of what you
Yeah,
think you might
It
need?
may be a little less, maybe, could be a little more. Just depends on what type of things blow up between now and then, you know.
Right. So when you say you got two bids, is that the common practice? I mean, two bids, is that where you're at? I mean, or do you usually try to get three bids or?
We advertise it publicly, just, you know, as our
Whatever.
normal bidding process, and that's who bid on the.
Was there a big difference in these two here? I mean, I don't know if you,
Some of the prices, it delivered, you got different types of contract. You got air and trained, you know, fly ash, fiber mesh included in there. That could be a different price. Some of it a little cheaper, some of it a little more, but when you take into account this $90 upcharge for a minimum of 5 yards, 'cause
yeah.
sometimes we don't need a couple, 3 yards
yeah.
of concrete. And you're gonna get charged another $90 and added a minimum of 5 yards delivery.
So that, yeah, that's where they could get you.
Right, exactly.
Anybody else? Negative? All right. Huh?
You're getting all the good questions.
Yeah, well. All right, let's take a vote.
That motion carried 5-0.
Thank you, Keith. Oh, you're still here, ain't you?
Your Honor, this is the first
Yeah,
reading of Bill
one
number
more.
6235, an ordinance granting an air rights easement between the City of Branson, Missouri and Rustic Oak Properties LLC related to airspace above property located at 403 West Main Street in Branson, Missouri. The floor is open for a motion to approve the first reading of Bill number 6235.
We have a motion and a second, and Keith Francis again.
Your Honor, the members of the board, if you know where this is over here on the big hill on Main Street, it's the Best Western over there. A portion of that hotel goes over, I believe it's 4th Street, is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, 4th Street. And anyway, there was never an air rights easement granted to the city for this portion that went over the road there. I mean, it's been there ever since I can remember, since I was a kid.
Yeah.
So, but apparently when they went to do some financing or something with the building, a remodel or something, the title company caught this. And so it's just basically granting them air rights easement over our roadway there. And it gives them the right to maintain it, paint it, whatever they need to do to it.
So that's been there for like 60 years, and now we're telling them it's okay? Is that
Now
what-
we're getting an easement, yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
Awesome.
Giving them the right to leave it over the road.
that's perfect. What if we all said no?
I don't know about that.
Wouldn't that blow their
You're
mind?
asking the wrong person there. I'll have to ask Jim about that one.
Anybody in the audience want to speak on this? Any aldermen?
I got one.
Oh, go ahead.
So Keith, you're saying that reviewing this was brought on by something they did? I'm just curious how we found it internally. It was something they did that prompted
I
this.
believe
and then
that
we-
is correct, yes.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
got it.
Not something we did.
Seeing it, what we're cleaning up. you know.
Been there forever, and now we're gonna,
All right. Well, let's vote.
That motion carried 5-0.
thank you.
Thanks, Keith.
Oh, sorry. We need to go back to that one. He's asking for a double read on that.
Oh,
Your Honor, I move to read Bill number 6235 for its final reading due to Keith catching this error that he made. Sorry, that's in the record now.
all right, we have a motion. Oh, not yet. We have a motion. Do we have a second? Yes. Anyone in the audience wishing to speak regarding this matter? No. Any aldermen? All right, so we're voting to have a double read, correct? Let's
Correct.
do it.
That motion carried 5-0.
Madam Clerk, would you please provide the introduction for this item?
Your Honor, this is the final reading of Bill Number 6235, an ordinance granting an air rights easement between the City of Branson, Missouri and Rusty Gold Properties LLC related to airspace above property located at 403 West Main Street in Branson, Missouri. The floor is open for a motion to approve the final reading of Bill Number 6235.
We have a motion and a second. Anyone in the audience wishing to speak regarding this matter? Hearing none. Any alderman? Please vote.
That motion carried 5-0. Thank you.
All right.
The next item is the final reading of first reading of Bill Number 6236, an ordinance approving payment incentive fees to SMG Branson Convention Center's management company in accordance with the terms of the management services contract. The floor is open for a motion to approve the first reading of Bill Number 6236.
We have a motion and a second, and we'll now have a staff report from Ben with Baker Tilly.
Thank you. Every year, the city's finance committee evaluates the performance, or helps evaluate the performance of the convention center, the management company that runs the convention center. And its evaluation is regarding an incentive fee that's set every year by contract for that management company. This year, we received information back. The criteria that is judged on for the convention center is the customer and client satisfaction, completion of goals and objectives, improved operating financial condition, responsiveness, ingenuity, and creativity, and feedback from the chamber and hotel group. The convention center supplies the documentation that we review. Then we take it to the finance committee for them to take a look at it and then offer a recommendation one way or the other. So it's the finance committee's recommendation to approve the full amount of the incentive, which is $145,584. And about an hour ago, I just realized that I didn't put into the packet their response to those criteria. So I can hand those out, and I've got a copy for Lisa for the record as well. But this is up for, our staff recommendation is for approval.
Anyone in the audience wishing to speak regarding this matter? Any aldermen? There you go. Thank you.
The one thing that's not on this list, and we'll make this available as well on the website so folks can see it. The one thing that's not on this is the response we got back from the chamber and then the owner of the hotel group. I solicited those myself, and both of them had glowing remarks about those folks that are running the convention center now. And they said that they couldn't do it better.
Yeah, I'd like to reiterate that. I mean, the job they've done, from the numbers, from feedback that we've heard from people who host conventions there, but I've also, in the past few weeks, been able to talk to Sam and kind of really buckle down on kind of where we fall on kind of marketing of Branson, and I really think he's kind of in line with a lot of us on this board and where we want to go, and so I'm just real comfortable with the leadership, and I'd be in support of this.
Well, was he in here, a couple of weeks ago when he gave the big, I mean, that was an impressive report and numbers that he showed us.
Yeah.
He is required to come back on a quarterly basis, and it'd be nice to see that on a quarterly basis.
Yeah.
To keep tabs of the progress moving forward. So that's our intent. So we'll bring him back and do that.
Absolutely.
And this incentive was performance-based, so I mean,
Exactly.
they actually had to execute and hit numbers in order to get, because if you fell below a certain amount, you got less of an incentive kind of thing. So, just kind of goes to the reason their success that they're having here is not just because they're in Branson, but they have a team there that's built for that, and they're definitely executing on that and really hosting very well, very, very well.
Yeah, he does a great job, that whole team down there. Cody?
Well, like you mentioned, I mean, he showed us, convention centers traditionally aren't really moneymakers, and while they still have, some operating losses, it's, we saw the trends where they've been able to mitigate that over the last several years and really reduce what that looks like. So, yeah, I think they've done a great job, and the numbers we saw a few weeks ago really speak volumes to that, so. Thanks, man.
Anybody else? We're good? All right, let's vote.
That motion carried 5-0. Your Honor, this is the first reading of Bill Number 6237, an ordinance naming Alice Acres and Arnie as the broker for medical, dental, vision, life, and accidental death and dismemberment insurance coverages for 2022 for the city of Branson, Missouri, in order to qualify for commissions paid by the respective carriers and authorizing the mayor to execute the contract. The floor is open for a motion to approve the first reading of Bill Number 6237.
All right. We have a motion and a second, and we'll now have a staff report from Jan Fisher.
Mayor and members of the board, tonight I bring you an agreement with Alice Acres and Arnie. It's several months late in the making. We had the turnover in the city attorney position several months ago, and this, prior to his departure, we didn't get this ironed out. And it just kind of fell off the radar when we went to go back to get the actual commission form signed for Alice Acres and Arnie. Our interim city attorney required that we have a formal agreement. So that's what we're doing tonight. Come to find out, Alice Acres and Arnie has been receiving commissions all this time. So that was a bit of an erroneous assumption on our part that they actually needed that agreement in place. But nevertheless, we recommend approval of this to make sure that Alice Acres and Arnie gets their due commissions. And I'll answer any questions.
Anyone in the audience? Any aldermen?
It's kind of like the airspace thing.
Yeah. I don't know how this all works like that. And you're going to be asking for a double read too, right? So,
Yes, sir, I am. It's just for the lateness of the year and getting things done. We just want to get this wrapped up.
all right. Any aldermen before we vote? Let's vote.
That motion carried 5-0.
I'll entertain a motion.
Your Honor, I move to read Bill Number 6237 for its final reading due to Alice Acres and Arnie needing an agent of record agreement so they can get paid their commissions.
We have a motion and a second. Anyone in the audience wishing to speak regarding this matter? Hearing none. Any aldermen? All right, we're going to vote to have a double read.
That motion carried 5-0.
Madam Clerk, would you please provide the introduction for this item?
This is the final reading of Bill Number 6237, an ordinance naming Alice Acres and Arnie as their broker for medical, dental, vision, life, and accidental death and dismemberment insurance coverages for 2022 for the city of Branson, Missouri, in order to qualify for commissions paid by the respective carriers and authorizing the mayor to execute the contract. The floor is open for a motion to approve the final reading of Bill Number 6237.
We have a motion and a second. Anyone in the audience wishing to speak on this? Hearing none. Any aldermen? Please vote.
That motion carried 5-0. Your Honor, this is the first reading of Bill Number 6238, an ordinance approving the 2023 pay matrix and pay guidelines for City of Branson, Missouri employees. The floor is open for a motion to approve the first reading of Bill Number 6238.
We have a motion and a second, and we'll now have another staff report from Jan Fisher.
Mayor, members of the board, what you see before you is the pay matrix for beginning January 1st, 2023. That is in the ordinance Exhibit 1. Essentially what that is the product of the work that I have to always give a shout out to Kimberly Cooper. She did massive amounts of work, and she's just now brought a new baby girl into the world last night at 10 o'clock. So we're going to be riding solo quite a bit in our department for a while here. So, but anyhow, Kimberly did a lot of work with our staffing study and put it together with our pay matrix and such so that we have a real legitimate competitive compensation package for employees. Just to kind of give you a highlight of it, one of the things that I've always been focused on is the entry-level positions that we have here at the city, especially like in Parks and Rec and Public Works, in those positions. We have restored that minimum gap that we have between our entry-level position and minimum wage. On January 1st, 2023, minimum wage is going to go to $12 an hour. We're going to be at $16.46 an hour. It gives us about $4.50 an hour gap, buffer between our lowest paid position and minimum wage. That puts us in a competitive spot that way. And then what we also did through this entire process is we evaluated all the positions for internal equity and for external equity. We looked at what are the kinds of factors that we use internally to make sure that people are paid appropriately. Like one position in particular, our animal control officer, we reviewed that. It actually increased 9 grades in step, simply because the work environment, the work conditions, and the freedom of them being able to, that role being able to make independent decisions and things like that. We used the SAFE evaluation system that we had employed back in 2016 when we used Springstead to do our compensation and study program at that point. At the end of the day, we developed also along that line something that allows people to gain additional compensation for their experience in their particular role. So if they move up a step or 2 or 3, we have an evaluation process that rewards them for their time in position. So, Ben allocated us about $300,000 for that little gap there. We used darn near every dime of it. So that being said, I'll answer any questions, and staff recommends approval.
Anyone in the audience wishing to speak on this? Hearing none. Alderman Fitton?
Jan, for clarification, as you go up in grade, as the number gets higher, the pay appears to increase, right?
Yes.
On 35C, I noticed when I was looking at this, 35C starting pay is less than 20, what was it? 26C? Is there any particular reason for that, or is that?
25C.
35C.
35C, okay.
You'd have to go back to
Yeah.
26C to find a.
That's an anomaly, that's a typo. Because every grade goes up 3%. So that's just simply a typographical error in that, a Scrivener's error as we call it. It's one of those where, typically you do it on an Excel spreadsheet, something got slipped in there, so.
Which one were you looking at, Cody?
The 35C.
I think when this was presented to us at the study session, we saw that. I just want to make sure it gets fixed.
Oh, yeah.
I will clearly fix that.
Thank you.
The other thing that I wanted to point out as well, there is our city prosecutor was at a 39C, and we have moved that to a 43C. That was a last-minute adjustment. That was one of the things we did, is the city administrator asked us to meet with all the department heads and make sure that everybody was good with the numbers. And we came up with a few where we said, you should rethink this. And we did, and we made some adjustments. So that's one in particular.
And the grading system, can you give us a short recap of exactly how you come to, like with the, how do you get, well, as far as like this, how do you determine a police sergeant from a senior planner, or
Okay.
what is the starting basis of this
All right.
is that
Well,
number?
What we did is we went through and they kind of reflect what we've had in the past, you know? And we had some pretty good placement by and large for most positions. But what we did is we went through and we incorporated what we refer to as the SAFE evaluation system. It gives you, first of all, there's a level of responsibility that you evaluate each position by. Then you look at it again with respect to the kind of work that they're doing, the level of responsibility, the number of people they supervise, the overall impact on end results and things like that. And we do that based on their job descriptions. And then that's how we come up with a numeric value for each role. That's how you get that ranking.
Yeah. So it's a formula.
It's a formula, and
Yeah.
it's a fair formula. It's defensible. Springstead, when they first did our evaluation process, they said they'd taken it, represented it in a court situation on multiple times. So we really liked that methodology, and we've adopted it ourselves.
Okay. Any other aldermen?
Your Honor, for a point of clarification, we have errors on this,
Yeah.
and I'm not sure how, we have a request for a double read also, and I'm not sure that we want to proceed with that with
Right,
these
exactly.
errors, so we'll have to get these corrected.
Well, we probably don't want to vote this.
I don't know the numbers. If we had the numbers now, we could motion them in, but I don't know that we know those numbers.
I could calculate them, but it's one of those, I think I would rather come back at another date and get.
We can do the first reading and approve it, and then on the final reading, we can do the amendment at the next meeting, if that works.
That makes sense. Is that, everybody good with that? Yeah. Okay, let's do that.
We'll come back with a correction.
Thanks for pointing that out. All right, let's vote.
That motion carried 5-0.
So, we'll just disregard this? Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. I would.
Okay. So we'll move on to item number 30.
Your Honor, this is the first reading of Bill Number 6239, an ordinance approving the first addendum to 2022-2024 agreement known as the Collective Bargaining Agreement with the Southern Missouri Professional Firefighters Local Number 152, affiliated with the International Association of Firefighters, AFL-CIO, pertaining to changes in monetary provisions only, and authorizing the mayor to execute the first addendum. The floor is open for a motion approving the first reading of Bill Number 6239.
We have a motion and a second, and we'll now have another staff report from Jan Fisher.
Mayor, members of the board, this you probably ask yourself, why is Jan presenting this? It has to do with the fact that it's about compensation. We wanted to make sure that the compensation structure for the fire department fit within the global compensation structure with the city of Branson. And in doing so, one of the things we looked at and feedback we'd gotten from firefighters for a long time is this pay scale is overwhelming. What we have currently was a 21-step pay scale. It takes you effectively 21 years of continuous movement to get to the top of it. In that respect, our longest-serving firefighter is probably sitting around a step 12 or 13. So the idea of them getting to the top of the pay scale so that they can then maximize their retirement benefits, because let's be very candid about it, these guys have a limited shelf life. You know, they work hard, they put themselves in dangerous positions, and you just don't know how long your career is going to be. So in that respect, we concurred that we want them to get to the top of the pay scale as quickly as possible. So that being said, when we devised their pay scale, the firefighters just made the simple recommendation, hey, let's take out the odd number steps and call it a day. And that's effectively what we did. We took out the odd number of steps and we increased it by the overall pay scale of what every other employee is going to get is 5% for 2023. But then the structure of the actual transitioning into the new pay plan will occur at the beginning of 2024. So to fall in line with Ben's budget for 2023, this fits very well. We're also going to be incorporating little things like ad pay. These are things that allows employees to earn additional pay that go above and beyond their normal responsibilities with respect to more administrative type duties for managing different tasks and things like that. We found that to be an equitable provision for these guys, and I'll answer any questions. Staff recommends approval.
Anyone in the audience wishing to speak regarding this matter? I see we have a lot of firefighters sitting out there tonight. They look like they have a long shelf life. I mean, they look all young and spry. Look at them. None of them look wore out.
They're 16.
Yeah. Are you guys good with this plan? How do y'all feel? Any of y'all want to talk about it, or? You're good? So they all like it? Any board members want to speak on this?
That's what I need to hear.
So basically, yeah, absolutely. If they're good, I'm good.
I think that's enough.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Let's vote. I think the mayor's watching Barney or something.
That motion
Hey.
carried 5-0.
Excuse me, Clay.
Do you have something to say,
That's fine.
Mayor?
Yeah, I just wanted to add in there, I don't know if Jan emphasized that enough, but he took the pay plan from the 21 steps down to 10 steps. And as long as I can remember, our fire department has been asking about that 21-step plan. And when they compare it with other municipalities and in surrounding areas, nobody has a pay plan that, takes 21 years to get to the top. So once again, I'd really like to compliment Jan. I know that I heard through the IFF negotiations that went very well. I talked to Ted Martin. Ted Martin, for some reason, Ted was not included in this last round of negotiations. And Jason, Shop Stewart, mentioned that to me. And they would really like Ted to be involved beginning next year. And I told them I would strongly encourage that. They want Ted there. And I also need to say that according to the shop steward, that they had a mediator. The attorneys aren't fighting like they did in the past. They achieved many things. Some of them real small. They wanted the patches on their shoulder, on their t-shirts, and they wanted the pins. But I don't know if everybody there appreciates moving that pay step plan from 21 steps to 10 steps, how big of a deal that is.
Well, yeah,
I just
because
wanted to,
now you
ahead.
have now you have goals that are actually achievable. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah.
The one thing about it is, on the 21-step plan, each incremental step, you move up a step each year. Each incremental step is a 2.05% increase. That's okay. I mean, it's not great, but the compressed pay plan moves it up 4.14%. It makes it a more realistic pay increase.
Yeah. Fantastic. Anybody else? Thank you, Jan. Let's take a vote.
We already voted.
Oh, we did? Then never mind. Thank you, Jan.
We didn't have to vote her
We were just talking about what a great decision it was still.
The next item is the first reading of Bill Number 6240, an ordinance approving the letter of engagement with JTS Financial for 2023 brokerage services for the City of Branson's medical, dental, vision, and life insurance, and authorizing the mayor to execute the contract. The floor is open for a motion to approve the first reading of Bill Number 6240.
We have a motion and a second, and now a staff report from Jan.
Mayor, members of the board, the agreement with JTS Financial is the culmination of the RFP process that we completed recently to drive down prices for medical and dental insurance and life insurance for the city of Branson employees. JTS Financial, they submitted the lowest overall plan. It was a plan that from last year, if you recall, the HR committee had put into place that we want to transition over to a self-funded plan. So in that respect, JTS Financial put us, their recommendation was on a level-funded plan. It is effectively the same thing, it's the same chassis as a self-funded plan, but it's got guarantees in place that limits the city's risk. That's exactly what the HR committee had asked for a year ago. They were the only firm that really presented that as a solution for the city. In that respect, they won the bid, and we're asking them to be our broker for 2023. And I'll answer any other questions you have.
All right, anyone in the audience wishing to speak on this? Any aldermen?
Jan, I'm curious, because I know coming up, there's the approval of the different carrier contracts.
Yes.
What with changing broker and making all these changes, was there any increase in costs to employees, or what are we looking at as far as coverage, deductibles? I mean, where are we at on that?
That's a pretty long answer, and it's a good answer. It will benefit employees overall. And if you don't mind, I'd like you to defer that to whenever we actually make the presentation on that.
Okay.
Anyone else? All right, let's vote.
That motion carried 5-0.
We're looking for a double read. Are we looking for a motion? Ralph, you want to read that?
Sure. Your Honor, I move to read Bill number 6240 for its final read due to time constraints and approval.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Anyone in the audience wishing to speak regarding this matter? Hearing none. Any aldermen? I know what you're feeling right now. You're wanting to know what is the effect of this.
All right. Let's.
You see what I'm saying? We're going to approve a broker.
Oh, yeah,
What if it's the
okay.
worst deal we've ever made in our
I'm
life?
with you.
Yeah.
I'm with you. Okay.
Could we stop just a second? Just from formality, we're just voting to have the final reading, so if we could get through this vote and then
Okay.
we don't.
All right, let's vote on having the double read, the final read.
That motion carried 5-0.
Madam Clerk, would you please provide the introduction for this item?
This is the final reading of Bill number 6240, an ordinance approving the letter of engagement with JTS Financial for 2023 brokerage services for the City of Branson's medical, dental, vision, and life insurance, and authorizing the mayor to execute the contract. The floor is open for a motion to approve the final reading of Bill number 6240.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Anyone in the audience wishing to speak regarding this matter? Any aldermen? Alderman Fenton?
Okay. And I apologize.
No, you're right. I mean, you're going to vote on something? Yeah.
I didn't mean to be coy about it, but this is specific to the plan. When it comes to that, yeah, if you would, please. In that respect, when you look at this, our current plan that we have, as you can see there, things highlighted in green are benefits to employees. Things in red are negatives. So what you've got there is on the Anthem renewal, what we saw is a 7.43% increase across the board. It would have cost everybody a lot more money. That being said, the one thing that they did offer is they offered Cox and Mercy as in-network providers for the city. But everything else was the same. You had deductibles, $0 deductible, $1,000 deductible, $3,000 deductible. With the new plan that we're going to have, we've got two plans with $0 deductibles, and one plan, which our traditional HSA, is a $3,000 deductible. The max out of pocket, everything stays the same except for the base plan, which is a $4,000 max out of pocket. But when you look at all of the different elements of there's no copays. You know, there's no physician copay, no specialist copay. There's zero coinsurance. The lab work is free. All of the essential elements that most employees use is going to be at zero cost to them. They just have to decide what are going to be your big ticket items. You know, I've been approached by employees who have medical things coming up for next year, and they look at and they say, well, if I choose this plan, this will benefit me more. I say, yeah, exactly. It's what's going on with this new structure of funding. It's forcing the costs where they belong, and it's benefiting those who don't use the plan. So if you look at that, the traditional buy-up plan moved up 4.63%. The $0 or the $1,000 deductible, which is now a zero deductible, goes down 2.52%, and the $3,000 deductible HSA drops to 2%. So all in all, it's going to save employees money. It's going to save 60 to 70% employees. It's going to save them money. For those that use the insurance more, they're going to pay more for out-of-pocket expenses, or if they want to transition up to the buy-up plan, then that will cover them as well. But then they're going to get that ancillary piece with respect to the no copays, no lab work, no imaging, things like that are going to be at no cost. It's going to save folks a lot of money during the year. When I say that because based on our statistical data, 70% of our employees spend less than $2,000 a year. That's not even, even midway to the current base plan, or it's just over midway to the current base plan max out of pocket. And it's one of those things that's going to save folks money in the long run.
So that 4,000 in red.
Yes.
That's the only thing you said that went up?
That went up. It went up $1,500. So in that respect, and I'll steal a little more of Ben's thunder, because whenever you come down to it, what happens if you've got a situation where you hit your max out of pocket, you've got some real expenses? One of the other bills that we're going to be asking for approval later, or it's one of the last ones, is the one called gravy pay. That's the one where Gravy, that they're our plan administrator, if you will, they are going to allow employees to have a zero interest loan that they can apply to it. So in a situation where an employee has a sudden, unexpected out-of-pocket expense, they've got that line of credit that's no cost to them.
That's an in-house?
It's part of Gravy.
Oh, it's part of that, okay.
It's part of that whole structure.
So let's say something unexpected happens and you're hit with a $50,000 bill and that person doesn't have it, then they will help them with that with zero interest?
The maximum that we're going to need is $8,000.
Oh, okay.
That's the maximum. That would be the family max out of pocket, if you will, on that base plan. So at that point, it's capped. But then, let's say you've got two members of your family that require some kind of major surgery, that you don't have that out of pocket. You didn't plan for it. It happened. That gives you a means to pay for it without having to pay interest on it.
Now, is that $8,000 per person? Or that's just the plan?
That's for the plan.
The plan.
Because at that point, you've hit your max cost.
That's right, yeah. That makes sense. Well, that's a nice little perk,
It is.
yeah.
So I apologize, Alderman Fenton. I didn't mean to be coy with that. It was just one of those where it's going to be covered again, so.
Yeah.
Well, I know last year when some of these conversations were happening, I had people reach out and, the monthly expense of their premium payments was I think a concern for folks. And so as I'm seeing this, if you take the base plan, your premium could go down a little bit, but your max out of pocket's going to go up. And then if you do the buy-up plan, your premium's going to go up, but most everything's going to stay the same. Is that?
That's a fair statement, except for the fact that most of your expenses would normally be for those copay type things that would go into your, your doctor's visits, your imaging, your lab work, things like that. Those things aren't going to cost you anything. So at the end of the day, I see this as a savings for employees. It's a different way to look at it. It's a whole different animal of what we're used to. But at the end of the day, I believe it drives the costs down for employees.
Anybody else?
Jen, do you see that as sustainable cost savings, even moving forward?
As far as for the city or for individuals?
Both.
Well, I think it makes people more aware of their expenses. And when you are aware of that, it drives those costs down. But I think ultimately what's going to happen, if you don't have any copays, you're probably going to be more likely to go to the doctor. And in that respect, the more often, that's one of our biggest things with our health and wellness plan, go see the doctor, because that's going to help us prevent illnesses, which help prevent additional costs down the road.
And I think one other thing that we covered in HR committee was that customarily there was a 10% actual increase in premium. You guys were able to get it to that 743, but this is even more savings, right?
Oh, yeah. Ultimately, this is a 0.7% increase across the board, but for the city, the thing about it is you've got that compound effect. The buy-up plan is going to cost more, and it's compounded by the fact that the base plan is less. So the city's going to see a $70,000 savings with this.
Saving those nickels.
Boom.
And that's just on the premium. In the long run, we could be driving costs down for a long time.
Does this have a feature? I know, I think it was earlier this year, we had a check presentation due to.
That was a workers' comp.
Work comp.
I thought there was something with the insurance. If we utilized less than what the insurance company anticipated, there was some sort of refund, right?
Oh, yeah.
And that is a component of being level funded. So if we use less than this, and I forget what that point is, there is a point by which the fact that we're level funded, we agree to a certain amount of premium that we're going to pay, and if we come in at less than that, then we split that amount with Gravy. They take half of it, we get half of it. Now, that's the benefit of being level funded. If we were self-funded, that would all be ours. And that's the big thing that I want to get across, is that going this route, Gravy, and we'll talk more about it in a little bit, Gravy is our reinsurance, our stop loss, our plan administrator, and things like that for our overall plan. We're using an Aetna network. They're actually renting that network. It's just Aetna. It's like Anthem is Anthem, but Anthem has their own administrative services, but they have their own network as well, and they rent that out as well. So we are renting an Aetna network that allows us to have open access to Cox and Mercy, to all of Cox and all of Mercy. That in itself is going to be a big boon for some of our employees, Because some folks are saying, look, I live in Springfield, I have Mercy doctors, that's what I want. So that helps them.
Anybody else? Are you good, Cody?
Yeah.
All right, we ready to vote?
Just a reminder, we're voting on the final reading now.
Yeah, this
Thank-
is the final vote
final.
of the final reading.
Yep.
It's final.
This is final.
it. All right, here we go. It's final round.
That motion carried 5-0.
Jan, just real quick,
Yes,
do we still have that option looking forward as far as like self-funding? I mean, that's still kind of in the
yes.
projections.
This, and this makes it that much easier.
So this is like self-funding on training wheels, right?
Exactly.
Okay, thank you.
Perfect analogy.
There goes the firefighters. Look at 'em. Whoa, take the money and run. Look at 'em. Sorry, go ahead.
The next item is the first reading of Bill Number 6241, an ordinance approving the enrollment agreement for 2023 dental insurance with Delta Dental of Missouri for the city of Branson, Missouri. The floor is open for a motion for the first reading of Bill Number 6241.
All right, we have a motion and a second, and now staff report from Jan Fisher.
Mayor, members of the board, I'll lump the staff reports for Bill number 6241 and 6242 together simply because this is a flat renewal from 2022. There's no increase. Everything is the same.
Anyone in the audience wishing to speak regarding this matter? Any aldermen? So we are just renewing the same thing?
Yes.
Nothing new?
This is the last renewal on these two contracts. So
That's right.
next year, we'll have to go back out.
But as a side note, I think it's been 6 years since we've had an increase. So
That's pretty good.
it hasn't been that bad.
Yeah. All right, let's vote.
That motion carried 5-0. Oh, sorry, they're asking for a double read.
Yep, I'll entertain a motion for a double read here. Anybody jump on there?
Your Honor, I move to read Bill number 6241 for its final reading due to timing.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Anyone in the audience wishing to speak regarding this matter? Any aldermen? Uh-oh, Marshall?
I just want to say we take double reads seriously. It's not flippant by which we do them because it's important to give the citizens those 2 weeks. Sometimes at the end of the year, there are things that kind of back up, and I understand that, and so that's kind of why I'm supporting these tonight. But I just want to make it known that we don't just do these off the top of the cuff and that kind of thing.
I couldn't agree more with you. One of the things that I've argued with how we've done things in the past, it's a friend of mine coined a phrase, the tyranny of the urgency. You become, that urgency becomes a tyrant. It forces you to do things, maybe you don't get all the quotes you want and things like that. The one thing about becoming self-funded, we drive all of that. Historically, we haven't been able to get our renewal information since, or before August 1st. We can start pulling our renewal information whenever we want, making plans early on. And so that way, we're not going to be looking at end-of-year types of things like this.
Anybody else?
If I could, I need to move back. We've picked up, if you'll bear with me.
Do I? Wait.
So this is, they look so familiar, so the same. This is dental, and so I'm going to just pick up that we're on dental. I'm sorry, that one moved over to the next item, so I've just moved back. We're on the same motion.
We're still voting on a double read.
Yeah, we're,
You're still voting on the double read, but we were on 33. I just moved us back to 32
okay.
for the second read. It moved over, I'm sorry, for the, so we're on the motion to read this bill for the final reading on item number 32, which will be the dental insurance. As shown on the screen, it's corrected now. It was,
So we already have a motion and a second,
Yeah.
and we've had discussion,
yeah,
right? So we're ready to vote?
yes.
Okay,
Thank you.
let's vote.
The motion carried 5-0.
Madam Clerk, would you please provide the introduction for this item?
This is the final reading of Bill Number 6241, an ordinance approving the enrollment agreement for 2023 dental insurance with Delta Dental Missouri for the City of Branson, Missouri. The floor is open for a motion to approve the final reading of Bill Number 6241.
We have a motion and a second. Anyone in the audience wishing to speak regarding this matter? Hearing none. Alderman, anything? Ruth, nothing? No thanks. All right, let's vote.
That motion carried 5-0. This is the first reading of Bill Number 6242, an ordinance approving the 2023 vision insurance with Delta Vision for the City of Branson, Missouri. The floor is open for a motion to approve the first reading of Bill Number 6242.
We have a motion and a second, and we'll now have a staff report from Jan Fisher.
Mayor, members of the board, again, this is a flat renewal from 2022. I'll answer any questions you might have.
Anyone in the audience? Any aldermen? So same thing, renewal, no changes. All right, let's vote.
That motion carried 5-0.
I'll entertain a motion for a double read. Yeah.
Your Honor, I move to read Bill Number 6242 for its final reading due to timing of getting the contract signed.
We have a motion and a second. Anyone in the audience wishing to speak on this matter? Any aldermen? So we're going to vote to have a double read. Let's do it.
That motion carried 5-0.
Madam Clerk, would you please provide the introduction for this item?
Your Honor, this is the final reading of Bill Number 6242, an ordinance approving the 2023 vision insurance with Delta Vision for the City of Branson, Missouri. The floor is open for a motion to approve the final reading of Bill Number 6242.
We have a motion and a second. Anyone in the audience wishing to speak on this? Any aldermen? None. Let's vote.
That motion carried 5-0. The next item is the first reading of Bill Number 6243, an ordinance approving the City of Branson, Missouri 2023 employer and employee medical, dental, vision, and life insurance coverage rates and contributions to employee health savings accounts. The floor is open for a motion to approve the first reading of Bill Number 6243.
And we have a motion and a, oh, not yet. Jumped again. We have a motion and a second, and we'll now have a staff report again from Jan Fisher.
Mayor, members of the board, as you can see, well, in the ordinance itself, we've got the rates for employee rates and for the employer rates. For the buy-up plan, the rates go up for the employer, or I'm sorry, for the employee. And the base plan and the HSA plan, the rates go down. As such, the HSA contributions will drop a little bit as well, because the city funds all plans at the same level. So it doesn't matter if an employee chooses the buy-up plan, the base plan, or the HSA. They get the same dollar value irrespective of plan. I'll answer any questions, and staff recommends approval.
Anyone in the audience wishing to speak on this matter? Any aldermen? Let's vote.
That motion carried 5-0.
Anybody want to do a double read? Don't all jump at once.
Your Honor, I move to read Bill number 6243 for its final reading due to time constraints.
We have a motion and a second. Anyone in the audience wishing to speak regarding this matter? Any aldermen? We are voting on having a double read. Here we go.
That motion carried 5-0.
Madam Clerk, would you please provide the introduction for this item?
Your Honor, this is the final reading of Bill number 6243, an ordinance approving the City of Branson, Missouri 2023 employer-employee medical, dental, vision, and life insurance coverage rates and contributions to employee health savings accounts. The floor is open for a motion to approve the final reading of Bill number 6243.
We have a motion and a second. Anyone in the audience like to speak on this? No. Any aldermen? We will vote.
That motion carried 5-0. Your Honor, this is the first reading of Bill number 6244, an ordinance approving the Master Employer Services Agreement with the American Fidelity Assurance Company for supplemental insurance, Section 125 Administration, Flex Spending, and Health Savings Account Administration, and authorizing the mayor to execute the agreement. The floor is open for a motion approving the first reading of Bill number 6244.
We have a motion and a second, and Jan, we're going to have to get you a recliner and charge you rent for being up there so long, pal.
Mayor, members of the board, American Fidelity is kind of the backbone of what we use for our employee online enrollment. They provide the enrollment platform called Celerax. It allows our employees to enroll for all their benefits online, and then that has a feed over to the carriers with respect to any changes, updates, anything like that. So it's all electronic. We don't have to mess with paperwork like we did back in 2014. That being said, they're the backbone of it. They're also our Section 125 plan administrator. They make sure that we do the things we're supposed to do. You know, when they came on board as our provider early on, people would kind of gripe a little bit because they were real sticklers about flex spending expenses and things like that. But the thing about it is they were doing that to benefit the organization, to benefit the city of Branson. Because if there's an anomaly, that Section 125, that's part of the IRS code. And when you start to mess with that, you go out of their boundaries, they get a little cranky with that. So if you go outside of the boundaries of what the IRS code allows, that could make your entire plan not subject, it could be all subject to tax. And so most of our benefits, we want them to have the option to be pre-tax. And that saves employees a lot of money. So American Fidelity manages that for us. But they also manage our flex spending and our HSA bank accounts, for lack of a better term. they don't charge us anything for this. In fact, the only cost incurred with using American Fidelity is what the city contributes on behalf for the employees for the HSAs, but that's on the other side for the cost side. But all of the insurance and things like that through American Fidelity is employee paid. Things like cancer policies, critical illness, disability, things like that. The employees pay for those. The city has no responsibility. I'll answer any questions. Staff recommends approval.
Anyone in the audience like to speak on this matter? Anybody on the board? All right, let's vote.
That motion carried 5-0.
Your Honor, I move to read Bill number 6243 for its final reading due to time constraints. 62. Oh, yeah, 6244. You're right.
Do we need a coffee break up here? Or what's going on?
Almost bathroom break. Huh? Oh, that's not. Man, that's a lot of pages.
Ralph's on the wrong page. There we go.
Your Honor, I move to read Bill number 6244 for its final read due to time constraints.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Anyone in the audience wishing to speak regarding this matter? Any aldermen? Let's vote to have a double read. We're ready to vote.
That motion carried 5-0.
Madam Clerk, would you please provide the introduction for this next item?
Your Honor, this is the final reading of Bill number 6244, an ordinance approving the master employer service agreement with American Fidelity Insurance Company for supplemental insurance, Section 125, Administration of Flex Spending and Health Savings Account Administration, and authorizing the mayor to execute the agreement. The floor is open for a motion to approve the final reading of Bill number 6244.
We have a motion and a second. Anyone in the audience want to talk on this? Any aldermen? Man, y'all are easy to get along with tonight. Let's vote.
That motion carried 5-0.
The one thing I do want to point out for your edification, the open enrollment period is December 5th through 9th. So if you need coverages or renewals, things like that, will be available. I'll be sending out a scheduler in the very near future. So you can schedule online.
Awesome. I believe we need a little, 5-minute recess? All right, we'll be right back. We ready? Can I hit this
I
thing?
think we killed like 3 trees.
I call this meeting back to order. Order in the room. Is the mayor still with us?
Of course he is.
Okay, good. All right, are we going to pick back up with item number 36?
Your Honor, this is the first reading on Bill Number 6245, an ordinance approving an administrative services agreement with Gravy Administrative Services LLC for third-party administrator duties related to a health plan for the city of Branson, Missouri, and authorize the mayor to execute the agreement. The floor is open for a motion to approve the first reading on Bill Number 6245.
We have a motion and a second, and we'll now have a staff report from Ben.
From Jan Jr.
Jan Jr., I like it.
Let him take a breather because he's still got agenda items to go through. No, and we've talked about a lot of the things that I wanted to point out already, so I'm just going to try to be brief. What I want to do is cover the acquisition process we use just for your edification and then the public's as well. We did issue a RFQ at one time. The current broker asked us to go back and move that into a RFP, and then for an actual broker who would bring a plan or a set of plans to the city, that would be the best plan. And so that's what we did. And I say we being the finance staff in conjunction with Jan's staff did that. So what came back is what we had already talked about, significant savings to the city. At one point, the increase in rates were 9.9%, 10%, which is what we included in the budget. It's around $350,000 increase citywide, and that was the value of it. That eventually went down to, 7.4%, just under 275,000. If you looked at the information that Jan had given you, that cost increase is 24,000, based on actually 22's price. So this is significant savings for the city. You already understand the significant savings for the employees. What's even more important is that goal in 2024 of reaching that self-funded plan. And JTS had offered up a view, if you would, if we did that today, what 24 would look like. And that would shave, just as their estimate, given the data we have today, that estimate was another 300,000 off the top of what we've got. So now we're upwards of 800,000 in savings. That's typical. That's what we expect to see as we move forward. And then the sustainability of that number really depends on us and how we design the plans and what we push for employees, wellness, et cetera. Because then whatever rewards the city reaps, the employees will share in because of rates and foregoing any kind of rate increases. So that was a big thing. Jan already went through the individual benefits for the employees as well. I think that everything else has really been covered on this one. So, and Gravy's going to be the third-party administrator, so that's why this one's in front of you.
All right, thank you. Anyone in the audience wishing to speak on this matter? Any aldermen have any questions or input?
Clay, I got a question.
Yes, sir.
And I don't know if this is the right contract or not, but for clarification, I know last year when we had this presentation, and I don't know the insurance world, so you guys might have to help me with my terminologies, but if we're fully insured, basically your liability is limited to your premiums, correct?
Correct. That's right.
If you're self-insured, your liability is whatever the cost of your care is.
The claims is with the caveat that there's a stop loss on top of that. So your maximum loss is going to be the claims that you incur, that your insured bodies are incurring, but really capped by the stop loss premium you've got put in place. So think of it as your house insurance, right? You don't ever predict to have a tornado come through and wipe your house off, but you can insure it. You insure against it. And that's what that stop loss would be. And Gravy's the one that actually provides that for us.
Okay, so that was going to be my next question, since I think Clay described this as self-insured on training wheels.
That was as Ralph.
Ralph, sorry.
That's the one that would be 23. That's exactly right.
So there is as far as a liability limit to the city,
Right.
there is something built into this.
Yes.
And that's what percentage of the total cost?
Do you know that? Come on up.
Mayor, members of the board, Charles Angel, JTS Financial. Alderman Fenton, a level funded plan is on a self-funded chassis, as Mr. Fisher stated, but your maximum liability is actually set at what premiums would be, just like a fully insured plan. So you as a city have no further liability once premiums have been paid. The trade-off for that, unlike a true partially self-funded plan, is if we finish the year lower than expected, we only recoup 50 cents on the dollar of the whatever we came in under the expected. Whereas if we were on a true partially self-funded plan, we would retain all of those funds.
And that's just based on the city's claims, no other?
Claims and fixed cost, such as renting the Aetna network, paying the third-party administrator to pay the claims, the pharmacy benefit manager, and the stop loss that Ben talked about, specific and aggregate stop loss.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir. May I add one more thing, Alderman Fenton? When I say cap, it's always based on enrollment. So currently we have around 254 eligible employees on the plan. If the city of Branson adds 100 more employees January 1st, obviously our exposure goes up because we're offering two plans that cost employees nothing. They will enroll in them. So it's always based on enrollment, if that makes sense.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? All right. Are we ready to vote, Madam Clerk? Let's vote.
That motion carried 5-0.
I'll entertain a motion for a double read.
Your Honor, I move to read bill number 6245. Is that correct?
Yeah, good job.
For its final read due to time constraints.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Anyone in the audience wishing to speak regarding this matter? Hearing none. Any aldermen? We are voting to have a double read. Here we go.
That motion carried 5-0.
Madam Clerk, please provide the introduction for this next item.
Your Honor, this is the final reading of Bill Number 6245, an ordinance approving an administrative services agreement with Gravy Administrative Services, LLC for third-party administrator duties related to a health plan for the city of Branson, Missouri, and authorizing the mayor to execute the agreement. The floor is open for a motion to approve the final reading of Bill Number 6245.
And we have a motion and a second. Anyone in the audience like to speak regarding this matter? Any aldermen? Okay, let's vote.
That motion carried 5-0. Your Honor, this is the the first reading of Bill Number 6246, an ordinance approving a managed care services agreement with Aetna Signature Administrators Preferred Providers Organization for the City of Branson, Missouri, employee medical insurance coverage, and authorizing the mayor to execute the agreement. The floor is open for a motion to approve the first reading of Bill Number 6246.
We have a motion and a second, and now more from Jan Fisher.
Mayor, members of the board, the Aetna Signature Administrative Preferred Providers Organization, that is simply the network that Gravy is renting for employees to be able to access. It's just like I said earlier, it's like Anthem, the administrative side rents the Anthem Health side, that network as well. So in our situation, we have full access to both Cox and Mercy. And again, it's just a component of the overall gravy agreement, if you will. I'll answer any questions, and if I need help with it, I've got Mr. Angel here to fill in the blanks, and staff recommends approval.
All right, anyone in the audience like to speak on this matter? Anybody on the board? We will now vote.
That motion carried 5-0.
Your Honor, I move to read Bill number 6246 for its final reading due to time constraints.
Are we good? Oh, there we go. We have a motion and a second. Anyone in the audience like to speak on this matter? Any aldermen? We are voting to have a double read. Let's vote. Mine's green.
That motion carried 5-0.
Madam Clerk, please provide the introduction for this item.
Your Honor, this is the final reading of Bill number 6246, an ordinance approving a managed care services agreement with Aetna Signature Administrators Preferred Providers Organization for City of Branson, Missouri, employee medical insurance coverage, and authorizing the mayor to execute the agreement. The floor is open for a motion to approve the final reading of Bill number 6246.
We have a motion and a second. Anyone in the audience like to speak on this? Any aldermen? Hearing none, we'll vote.
That motion carried 5-0. Your Honor, this is the first reading of Bill number 6247, an ordinance approving a sponsor addendum with Magellan RX Management LLC for pharmacy benefit management and authorizing the mayor to execute the addendum. The floor is open for a motion approving the first reading of Bill number 6247.
We have a motion and a second. We'll now have a staff report from Jan Fisher.
Mayor, members of the board, this is Magellan, the pharmaceutical prescription management plan that is a subcomponent of Gravy. The thing about it is that's most remarkable is the generic base drugs that if an employee gets a prescription for that, it's at no cost. And then we will say, I thought I had it in my staff report. I think my staff report got edited or something, but there was a list, a layout of what the costs were for each schedule. There's 4 schedules of drugs. On all but one, you're saving money. But one of those is your preferred name brands. So anytime you see a prescription advertised on TV, it's expensive. So it's going after, it's driving the employees or users to the no cost or the low cost prescription formulas that we have. Staff recommends approval, and I'll answer any questions.
Anyone in the audience wishing to speak regarding this matter? Surely y'all have something to say, right? Hearing none, we'll vote.
That motion carried 5-0.
Your Honor, I move to read Bill number 6247 for its final reading due to time constraints.
We have a motion and a second. Anyone in the audience want to speak on this matter? Any aldermen? Please vote to have a double read.
That motion carried 5-0.
Madam Clerk, please provide the introduction for this next item.
Your Honor, this is the final reading of Bill Number 6247, an ordinance approving a sponsor addendum with Magellan RX Management LLC for pharmacy benefit management and authorizing the mayor to execute the addendum. The floor is open for a motion approving the final reading of Bill Number 6247.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Would anyone out there like to speak on this matter? Anybody? Anyone at all? Okay. Any aldermen? Okay, let's vote.
That motion carried 5-0. Your Honor, this is the first reading of Bill Number 6248, an ordinance approving an application and subscription agreement for group insurance with One America Company for employer-paid and employee optional life insurance coverage for the city of Branson, Missouri for 2023, and authorizing the mayor to sign the agreement. The floor is open for a motion approving the first reading of Bill Number 6248.
We have a motion and a second, and y'all ain't gonna believe this, but Jan Fisher is here to speak.
Mayor, members of the board, we have before you our employee life insurance. The city covers employees for life insurance. They pay the premium on behalf of the employee for up to the next $1,000 above their salary level. So if somebody's making $41,650, the city covers them with a policy of $42,000 a year. That being said, that particular element of the rate, Anthem it currently has our coverage. They went up 2.4 cents per thousand. This particular offering goes up 2 cents per thousand. We end up saving just shy of $1,000 a year on the employer-paid portion of that overall. However, the employee portion, the voluntary side, that remained flat across the board with Anthem. Like we said, we talked about the RFP process. We saw some of the entries from some of the other brokers. The employer side dropped significantly, but the employee side went up significantly to a point where it was an overall increase for the entire organization. So we chose to go with One America for our coverage, and staff recommends approval. I'll answer any questions.
Anyone in the audience like to speak on this? Any aldermen? Hearing none, let's vote.
That motion carried 5-0.
Your Honor, I move to read Bill Number 6248 for its final reading due to time constraints.
We have a motion and a second. Anyone in the audience want to speak on this matter? Any aldermen? Let's vote.
That motion carried 5-0.
Madam Clerk, would you please provide the introduction for this item?
Your Honor, this is the final reading of Bill Number 6248, an ordinance approving an application and subscription agreement for group insurance with One America Company for employer-paid and employee optional life insurance coverage for the city of Branson, Missouri for 2023, and authorizing the mayor to sign the agreement. The floor is open for a motion to approve the final reading of Bill Number 6248.
We have a motion and a second. Anyone in the audience wishing to speak regarding on this matter? Anybody on the board? We're going to vote.
That motion carried 5-0. Your Honor, this is the first reading of Bill Number 6249, an ordinance approving the Gravy Pay Access Agreement with Gravy Administrative Services LLC and authorizing the mayor to sign the contract. The floor is open for a motion to approve the first reading of Bill Number 6249.
We have a motion and a second, and now a staff report from Jan.
Mayor, members of the board, I would be remiss if I didn't talk about my appreciation for this entire process. First and foremost, taking a little longer for all these double reads. I appreciate that very much. The reality is we were backed up against the wall with respect to trying to get all these contracts in, get everything done. I have to hats off to our attorneys who went through and vetted those as quickly as they could. And specifically to the clerk's office for, creating miracles and things like that. And Ben for leading up our process for making sure that everything was done equitably. That all being said, the entire process, I think, when you look at it, it was a bit of a pain, but I think at the end of the day, we're going to see a realistic savings somewhere in the $300,000 to $340,000 range. That's real money, and I think, it's a little extra work. We had some sleepless nights over it and things like that, but I think in the long run, it'll be well worth it. Back to the real topic. This gravy pay, I talked about it earlier. That is essentially the line of credit that will be arranged for each employee who needs it, up to an $8,000 limit. It goes through Commerce Bank. They're the actual purveyor of that line of credit. It goes through an organization or provider called Payment, P-A-Y-M-E-N-T, and Payment Services. Anyhow, I see this as an out-of-the-box thinking new concept for employees to help them pay for those high costs or unexpected bills that they might incur. Staff recommends approval, and I'll answer any questions you have.
Anyone in the audience like to speak on this matter? Any board members? We'll vote.
That motion carried 5-0.
I would really entertain a motion.
Your Honor, I move to read Bill number 6249 for its final reading due to time constraints.
We have a motion and a second. Anyone in the audience wishing to speak on this matter? Any board members? We are voting to have a double read.
That motion carried 5-0.
Madam Clerk, would you please provide the introduction for this next item?
Your Honor, this is the final reading of Bill number 6249, an ordinance approving the Gravy Pay Access Agreement with Gravy Administrative Services LLC and authorizing the mayor to sign the contract. The floor is open for a motion to approve the final reading of Bill number 6249.
We have a motion and a second. Anyone in the audience wanting to speak on this matter? I'm going to say that in my sleep tonight. Any aldermen? Let's vote.
That motion carried 5-0.
Can I go now?
Are you done, Jan? Oh, man, I'm going to miss you.
What about the airspace?
Yeah, let's talk about the airspace again.
Your Honor,
Sorry, go ahead. Item 41?
Your Honor, the next item is appointments. This appointment process is in accordance with the board and committee appointment procedure for Category 1 appointments made by the mayor with approval by the Board of Aldermen. Mayor Milton is requesting Jesse Martinowski be appointed to the Planning Commission to fill the unexpired term of Kathy Stepp with a term expiring April 2025. The floor is open for a motion to approve the appointments for Category 1 as presented.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion on this appointment? Anyone? Huh? It is good, yeah. All right. So if everybody's good, we'll vote on it, right? Let's vote.
That motion carried 5-0.
And we want to thank Jessie for her willingness to serve. We appreciate it. I mean, did I say her? Sorry. It's a little late. Him. I knew that, too. I have a Jessie that's a female on my show, so I was on a different page. Next.
Your Honor, the next is appointments. The appointment process is in accordance with the board and committee appointment procedure for Category 2 appointments made by the governing body. The board will be voting on the following applicants, and applicant receiving the most votes will be appointed to the Board of Appeals with a term expiring April 2027. The floor is open for motion to vote by ballot on the following applicants for Board of Appeals: Kendall Hayes and Amber French. I can have a motion. Yeah, thank you.
There we go. All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? The board will be voting by ballot, and the city clerk will read the results. Please vote for one applicant. The mayor does not vote. Sorry, Mayor. You do not get to vote on this.
It's okay. I trust y'all will make the best decision.
All the votes were for Kendall Hayes.
There you go. Congratulations, Kendall.
5-0.
And thank you to Amber for applying. All right. Are we ready for the reports? Are we ready for the reports? Sherry, you had nothing to say tonight? You only talked to Mayor Milton? Do I intimidate you? Is that what it is?
Never.
Never. Guarantee you that ain't it. All right. Hey, Mayor Milton, Cherry Webster is in the audience and did not say a word tonight.
Her name is Linda.
Linda, or you, yeah, you know her as Linda.
It may be cherry to you.
All right. Well, let's have our reports. We'll start with Alderman Fenton.
Well, I just want to say I'm proud of us for getting through 40-something items by 8:35. So
And a lot of double reads.
yeah, no, it was, and you know, to Marshall's point earlier, I know there was a lot of reasons for why we did that tonight. I'm not a big fan of having done that on that many with such big changes to what we're doing on our insurance, but it is what it is. It's the end of the year, and we had to get something in place. So with that, I just want to say happy Thanksgiving to everyone. Appreciate all you do, as always, staff, employees at the city, folks that show up. Linda, no, I'm kidding, Cherry. No, we really appreciate you guys. Hope everybody has a great Thanksgiving, and we'll see you next month.
Go ahead, Alderman Denham.
Just a huge shout out to the Mansion Entertainment Group. They have been offering so many different types of entertainment there. And this morning, I was able to attend a special community showing of an Ozark Mountain Symphony, a musical celebration. It was fantastic. They gave us a special sneak peek of their first internationally award-winning animation titled Gene's Sixth Symphony, and Peggy Haney's in the audience she got to attend to. It was a wonderful event. So thanks to them for all they're doing. Also, the Branson School District's offering 3 opportunities next week for the community to come and discuss both goals and needs for our students. And I just wanted to encourage anyone who wants to participate to go to Branson U's page on Facebook. That's, or you can go to bransonu.org, and you can get the information. And happy Thanksgiving to everybody.
Alderman Howden.
Just want to say quickly, we did have a meeting that night, but since we had election this month, we mentioned Representative Seitz, but I also want to say a big shout out and congratulations to Stephanie Spencer, who was like our county clerk. She's going to be absolutely phenomenal. I've seen her lead and take leadership roles when they were thrown at her and just excel in that. And election integrity is huge, or that's the term for the month of November, and I know that she'll do a great job of maintaining that unbiased, but just an incredible leader. So I want to say congratulations to her on that.
Awesome. Alderman LeBlanc, is he awake? There he
Older
is.
doc.
Alder Doc.
Older doc. Just to shout out to the Mansion Theater again. Ruth mentioned the screening that they did today. What's interesting is that that screening is going to go regional, and then it's going to go international. It goes international, I think, in January next year. But even more important to that, Mansion Theater actually, they have a float in the Rose Bowl parade. And that, I mean, you know, when you look at the exposure that's going to give Branson, I mean, it's going to be huge. So shout out to them for doing that. Ruth and I did a town hall in Ward 3, and I want to thank Chief Ted and also Acting Chief Smith for coming out and assisting us with that. It was kind of done on a whim. We just kind of challenged each other to do it, and it was kind of open forum. We did an invite. We're going to probably try to get the invite out a little bit sooner so we can get a few more people, but the chiefs were able to present Station 4, and then we also talked about the police department building over that we bought. So that was pretty cool. And then we took you know, questions from the audience, and really it was just an informative event. Like, we had no agenda. It's just whatever showed up, we kind of talked about. And so, you know, we were pretty open to do that. And so everybody did a great job. Everybody was pretty pleased with it. So Ruth and I are pretty committed to doing that at least every quarter for Ward 3. So the challenge is on, boys. Other than that, Branson is hopping. I live near downtown. I love seeing, you know, everything lit up and so many cars on the strip and downtown and just the people all day long. You know, we're doing some amazing things, and you know, all the staff is doing their part to make that possible. So thank you all. Want to wish you guys all a happy Thanksgiving. Love your family. Hug your family. I mean, family's so important. We've learned that over the last couple of years here, just how important that time is with our family. So this is an opportunity over the next few days to really exercise that and kind of take that in and be present with that. So thank you all for everything you do to make us look good, and we'll continue to be up here fighting for you and making you look as good as we can too. So thank you very much.
Administrator Stepp, do you have anything to add? Nothing to add. Nada? No. So it's my turn, I guess. Well, I just wanted to say congratulations to Alderman Cooper for doing such a great job tonight. And if there's anybody else that would like to speak on that matter, come to the podium. Love to hear your words of encouragement and kindness. And no, I have nothing. But Mayor Milton, would you like to add anything to your report?
I sure would. I'd like to thank Alderman Cooper for stepping up and doing a great job as the Mayor Pro Tem tonight.
I feel like I led you into that, but thanks anyway.
Yeah, actually, that was almost a reminder. I was going to forget to compliment you there, Clay.
Yeah, well.
I just wanted to actually follow up on Alderman LeBlanc. Spending time with family is important. I am currently in Louisville with my family, spending Thanksgiving with them. So I just want to thank everybody there for everything that you're doing. We have so much to be thankful for. And Cherry, I'll be back in a couple weeks. Good night, guys.
Thank you, Mayor. All right, that's all the reports.
The floor is open for a motion to adjourn.
Oh, yeah. We have a motion and a second. Please vote if you would like to leave or not. Yes means we're done. No, there's no discussion. We're either voting to get out or we're going to hang around longer.
That motion carried 5-0.
Watch this. Meeting adjourned.
Meeting adjourned.